Imagine for a moment that you're lost in the middle of the Sahara Desert, where daytime temperatures can easily reach 50 degrees Celsius. The sand burns your feet through even the most sturdy footwear, and the merciless sun seems to suck all the moisture from your body in a matter of minutes. Now imagine that there exists a people who not only survive in these extreme conditions, but have thrived for thousands of years, making one of the most hostile environments on Earth their home. This is the extraordinary mystery of the Bedouins, and today you will discover the ancient secrets that have allowed this nomadic civilization to completely dominate the world's most unforgiving desert. If you're curious to learn how it's possible to not only survive, but live comfortably in temperatures that would kill most people within hours, then subscribe to the channel now and leave a comment letting me know what time you're watching this video. This information helps me understand when you watch most and improve future videos. The history of the Bedouins began over 4,000 years ago, when groups of Semitic people decided to abandon their sedentary lifestyle and venture into the vast deserts of the Arabian Peninsula, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. But what would drive someone to voluntarily choose to live in an environment where water is more precious than gold and where a mistake in judgment can mean certain death? The answer lies in the very nomadic nature of these people, who developed a unique symbiotic relationship with the desert, learning not only to survive but to thrive in conditions that defy all known human limitations. The first and perhaps most fascinating secret of the Bedouins lies in the way they dress. While our modern intuition tells us that in extreme temperatures we should wear as little clothing as possible, the Bedouins do exactly the opposite. They cover themselves completely from head to toe with layers of fabric, and herein lies the genius behind this apparent contradiction. The fabric traditionally worn by the Bedouins is made of goat wool or cotton, materials that have extraordinary thermoregulatory properties. During the day, these layers create an insulating barrier that prevents the extreme desert heat from directly reaching the skin, while allowing air to circulate between the layers, creating a natural cooling system through the evaporation of sweat. But the genius doesn't stop there. The color of Bedouin clothing isn't chosen by chance. Traditionally, they wear light colors, especially white, which reflect solar radiation rather than absorb it. Modern scientific studies have shown that a person wearing white clothing in the desert can have their body temperature reduced by up to 5 degrees Celsius, compared to someone wearing dark clothing. The Bedouins discovered this physical principle millennia ago, long before modern science could explain the phenomenon. The turban, an iconic piece of Bedouin clothing, is much more than a cultural accessory. It functions as a complex system of protection and cooling. The way it is tied creates small air pockets that insulate the scalp from direct heat, while the loose ends can be used to cover the face during sandstorms or to create additional shade when needed. Additionally, the turban can be unwound and used as a rope, an emergency bandage, or even as a container for carrying water in desperate situations. Bedouin water management represents perhaps the greatest achievement of human survival engineering. In an environment where annual rainfall can be less than 25 millimeters, every drop of water is literally a matter of life or death. The Bedouins have developed an encyclopedic knowledge of desert water sources that has been passed down through generations for thousands of years. They can identify the presence of groundwater by observing subtle changes in vegetation, animal behavior, or even the color and texture of the sand. But what's most impressive is how they maximize the use of available water. The Bedouins discovered that the human body can adapt to functioning with much smaller amounts of water than we consider normal. As long as this adaptation is gradual and accompanied by specific techniques, they drink water in small sips throughout the day rather than large amounts at once, allowing the body to absorb and utilize each drop more efficiently. Furthermore, they learned to recognize the early signs of dehydration and developed methods to slow its progression using specific breathing techniques and strictly controlling heat exposure. During the hottest hours of the day, the Bedouin diet is another fascinating aspect of their desert adaptation. Contrary to popular belief, the Bedouins do not go hungry in the desert. They have developed a sophisticated cuisine based on ingredients that not only provide essential nutrition, but also help the body cope with extreme heat. Camel milk, for example, is extraordinarily rich in electrolytes and has superior hydrating properties to regular water. A single cup of camel milk can keep a person hydrated for much longer than the same amount of water, a fact the Bedouins have discovered through thousands of years of empirical observation. Dates, another staple of the Bedouin diet, are veritable energy capsules perfectly suited to the needs of the desert. They provide fast-absorbing sugars for immediate energy, but also contain fiber that slows digestion, providing sustained energy over long journeys. Furthermore, dates are rich in potassium, an essential electrolyte that is rapidly lost through sweat in high temperatures. Bedouins traditionally consume dates with camel milk, a combination that modern science recognizes as nearly perfect for hydration and nutrition in extreme environments. Bedouin knowledge of desert plants is encyclopedic and represents thousands of years of careful experimentation. They have identified dozens of plants that can provide emergency water, nutrition, medicine, and even building materials. The aloe plant, for example, not only provides a cooling gel for sunburns, but its leaves can also be chewed to extract water in emergency situations. Other plants, such as certain cactus species, can provide nutritious fruits and water, but the Bedouins have learned precisely when and how to harvest them to maximize both safety and nutritional value. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of Bedouin survival is their relationship with desert animals, especially the camel. The Bedouins' domestication of the camel represents one of the most successful human-animal partnerships in human history. Camels are not just means of transportation, they are mobile life support systems. A camel can carry up to 200 kilograms of supplies, travel for days without water, and provide milk, meat, hides, and even fuel in the form of dried dung. Most importantly, camels possess an instinctive knowledge of desert navigation that perfectly complements human abilities. The Bedouins developed a near telepathic communication with their camels, able to interpret subtle changes in the animal's behavior that indicate the proximity of sandstorms, the presence of predators, or even the location of distant water sources. This partnership allowed the Bedouins to explore regions of the desert that would be completely inaccessible to humans traveling alone. Bedouin architecture, though temporary due to their nomadic nature, represents one of the most elegant solutions ever developed for housing in extreme climates. The traditional Bedouin tent, known as a bait shar or hair house, is made entirely of goat hair woven by the tribe's women. This material has extraordinary properties during the day. The fabric contracts with heat, creating a dense barrier that blocks solar radiation. But at night, when temperatures drop dramatically, the material expands, allowing better air circulation and releasing accumulated heat. The tent's shape and orientation are also no accident. The low, elongated structure minimizes wind resistance during sandstorms, while the orientation is always calculated to maximize natural breeze capture during the hottest hours of the day. The tent's interior is divided into specific sections, each optimized for different activities and times of day, creating microclimates that allow relative comfort, even when outside temperatures are lethal. The Bedouin navigation system is perhaps one of the most complex and sophisticated pieces of knowledge ever developed by any human culture. In an environment where traditional landmarks are absent, where the wind can completely alter the landscape overnight, and where a wrong direction can mean certain death, the Bedouins developed a navigation system that combines astronomy, meteorology, geology, and even animal psychology in ways that modern science is still trying to fully understand. They can determine their exact location by observing the position of the stars, but not just the obvious constellations. Bedouin navigators know hundreds of individual stars and can calculate position, direction, and even the exact time based on celestial observations that would be invisible to the untrained eye. During the day, when the stars are not visible, they use the position of the sun, the direction of the wind, the color and texture of the sand, and even the behavior of insects to maintain the correct course. But what's most impressive is how they manage to navigate during sandstorms when visibility is virtually zero. Bedouins have developed the ability to use senses other than sight for navigation. They can identify directions based on the sound of the wind, the feel of sand hitting different parts of their bodies, and even subtle airborne odors that indicate the proximity of different types of terrain or water. Sources: the Bedouin social organization is also fundamentally adapted to desert survival. Tribal structure is not just a cultural issue, but a practical survival necessity. In an environment where resources are scarce and dangers are constant, cooperation is not optional. It is a matter of life or death. Desert survival knowledge is shared freely within the tribe, and a complex system of mutual obligations ensures that no member of the community is abandoned in dangerous situations. Bedouin hospitality, renowned throughout the Arab world, has deep roots in the practical reality of desert survival. Offering shelter and resources to travelers isn't just generosity, it's a system of mutual insurance. Today you might help a stranger lost in the desert. Tomorrow you might be the stranger in need. This philosophy has created a support network that stretches across thousands of kilometers of desert territory, allowing Bedouins to travel with relative safety across vast distances. The Bedouin justice system also reflects the realities of the desert. Conflicts are resolved quickly and definitively because prolonged divisions within a tribe can be fatal when resources are limited and cooperation is essential. The Bedouin code of honor is not just about cultural pride, it is a practical system that maintains the social cohesion necessary for collective survival. Traditional Bedouin medicine represents thousands of years of experimentation with desert plants and techniques. Bedouin healers have developed specific treatments for diseases and conditions related to desert life that exist nowhere else in the world. They know how to treat severe sunburns using specific plant saps, how to prevent and cure dehydration using precise combinations of plants and minerals, and how to maintain digestive health with a limited diet based primarily on animal products and hardy desert plants. Knowledge of poisons and antidotes is also extensive, as the desert is home to some of the world's most dangerous creatures. Bedouins can identify and treat venomous snake bites, scorpion stings, and other desert-specific dangers using only resources available in the immediate environment. The education of Bedouin children begins practically from birth, with survival knowledge transmitted through games, stories, and practical experience. By the age of 5, a Bedouin child can identify signs of a sandstorm, locate edible plants, and interpret basic animal behavior. By the age of 10, they can navigate short distances independently and contribute meaningfully to family survival activities. This intensive education ensures that each new generation possesses the knowledge necessary to perpetuate the culture and survival in the desert. The food preservation techniques developed by the Bedouin are extraordinarily sophisticated, considering the lack of refrigeration or other modern preservation methods. They learn to dehydrate meats in specific ways that not only preserve the food for months, but also concentrate essential nutrients. The controlled fermentation process is used to create dairy products that can be stored safely, even at high temperatures, and specific smoking techniques are employed to preserve food, while adding flavors that complement the limited desert diet. Bedouin knowledge of desert weather patterns is incredibly precise and detailed. They can predict changes in the weather days in advance by observing subtle cues that include changes in sky color, animal behavior, wind direction, and even changes in sand texture. This knowledge is not only impressive, it is literally a matter of life and death, as being caught off guard by a sandstorm or sudden weather change can be fatal. Bedouin resource management follows principles of sustainability that modern humanity is only beginning to rediscover. They never consume all available resources in an area, always leaving enough for natural regeneration. Water wells are carefully maintained and protected, plants are harvested in rotation to allow for recovery, and herds are moved regularly to avoid overgrazing. These principles have allowed the Bedouin to live in the desert for thousands of years without permanently degrading the environment. Bedouin technology, though seemingly simple, represents ingenious solutions to complex problems. They developed methods for locating groundwater using only observation and basic tools, techniques for predicting storms using natural signals, and systems for maximizing travel efficiency while minimizing energy and resource expenditure. Each tool, each technique, each tradition has a specific practical function refined through millennia of trial and error. The Bedouin legacy remains relevant in the modern world. Many extreme environment survival techniques used by modern military personnel and explorers are based on Bedouin knowledge. NASA studied Bedouin clothing to develop spacesuits. Engineers studied the architecture of Bedouin tents to design more efficient temporary structures, and medical researchers investigated the Bedouin diet to better understand human adaptation to extreme environments. But perhaps the Bedouins' most important lesson is one of adaptability and resilience. In a world where climate change is creating new environmental challenges, the Bedouins' ability to thrive in extreme conditions offers valuable insights into how humans can adapt and survive in hostile environments. They demonstrated that with knowledge, cooperation, and respect for the environment, it is possible not only to survive, but also to create a rich and sustainable culture, even in the most challenging conditions imaginable. The Bedouin have made the world's most hostile desert their home through an extraordinary combination of intuitive scientific knowledge, social cooperation, and physical and cultural adaptation that represent some of humanity's greatest achievements. Their survival techniques are not just historical curiosities, but vital lessons about resilience, sustainability, and the infinite capacity for human adaptation. In a world facing increasing environmental challenges, the Bedouins' secrets may offer pathways to a more sustainable and resilient future for all humanity.